We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Trafalgar Square, established in 1844, is a symbol of British naval history and a popular cultural spot in London. Named after the 1805 Battle of Trafalgar, it has been the site of celebrations, protests, and cultural events, representing the changing identity of the city. It houses several landmarks, like the Nelson Column, St. Martin in the Fields Church, and the National Gallery. The Nelson's Column, a tribute to a naval hero, is the main feature of Trafalgar Square. Standing 52 meters tall, completed in 1843, it honors Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. The column is topped with a statue of Nelson, and 4 bronze panels at its base show scenes from his battles. Surrounding it are 4 large bronze lions added in 1867, symbolizing British power.
Iconic part of British culture, not just in its look, but this is very much the sort of centre of London. You know, whenever there's a celebration, a protest, it's a public space that's very important for a lot of not just people that live in London, but for the UK. You know, it's a place where people would congregate. You know, I remember being here all around the 2012 Olympics, but it was very much one of the centerpieces of British iconic culture. Yeah, no, you used to be able to climb on the lions when I was younger, but you can't do anymore. So there you go. That's progress for you.
St. Martin's in the Fields Church, reputed as an architectural gem, was built between 1722 and 1726. It is known for its neoclassical design by architect James Gibbs and is famous for its portico and steeple and has influenced architecture worldwide. The church also a rich musical history, hosting concerts and helping the homeless.
Yeah, I actually came to London just on a little day trip, and then I remembered that this church sometimes has classical music on, so I just popped in, and there's no concert, but there was.
Hello and welcome to Souq News Television. We are reaching you live from our studios in the commercial city of Lagos. I am Oyin Priye Kurmale. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived in Rome, Italy on Saturday and that evening to attend the installation mass of Pope Leo XIV, the new head of the Roman Catholic Church. The mass marking the beginning of his pontificate held on Sunday, May 18th. President Tinubu was received at the Mario de Bernardo Military Airport by Ambassador Bianca Odumegwu Ojukwu alongside the Vatican and Nigerian embassy officials. His presence follows a personal invitation from the Vatican's Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Pope Leo XIV, who once observed in Lagos in the 1980s, expressed a deep affection for Nigeria. In Tinubu's delegation are leading Nigerian Catholic figures, including Archbishop Lucius Ugoji, Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama, Archbishop Alfred Martins, and Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka. Speaking during a meeting with members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu urged the Nigerians to embrace the country's diversity as a tool for unity and progress. He said Nigeria's hope lies in using its differences for prosperity and not for adversity. Still, President Bola Tinubu has approved all necessary regulatory licenses for Kolmani Integrated Development Project, a multi-billion-dollar oil exploration effort located between Bauchi and Gombe states. This was announced by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokbobri, during the launch of the Bauchi Oil and Gas Academy construction. The approval aims to boost oil production by activating all available hydrocarbon platforms across the country. The administration is focused on using energy resources to drive industrial growth, create jobs, and increase national revenue, with Bauchi State playing a key role by building local capacity through a new academy. The Kolmani project began in November 2022 and marks a major step for oil exploration in northern Nigeria. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited plans to resume drilling soon and complete a gas pipeline from Ajaokuta to Kano, promising wider economic benefits for the region. Now, Nigeria's telecommunications sector is poised for transformation with the upcoming Mobile Virtual National Operators across the country 2025 summit in Lagos on May 21st. Energized by the 43 new mobile virtual network operators licenses, the event will unite industry leaders, regulators, and global experts to address challenges and unlock growth opportunities in the fast-evolving telecom market. Organizers describe the gathering as a strategic working session focused on driving Nigeria's next wave of connectivity. Key discussions will center on regulatory frameworks, compliance challenges, and improving partnership between the network virtual operators and host communities. The summit aims to reduce costs and expand connectivity and introduce innovative services across underserved areas, including rural broadband, fintech inclusions, and enterprise connectivity. Attendees will also explore the untapped potential of Internet of Things service to accelerate digital transformation, international case studies will highlight successful strategies in execution, differentiation, and partnership that have driven profitability in other markets. Industry leaders such as Tony Emokbere and Dr. Koka Olushola Teniola and Ayo Oladejo will share insights during keynotes and panels to align policy and market strategies for Nigeria's telecom future. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced its net loans and receivables by 4.145 trillion naira in 2024, reflecting a major shift in its lending strategy. The drop from 16.122 trillion naira in 2023 to 11.977 trillion naira was driven largely by a sharp decline in overdrafts extended to the federal government under the Ways and Means provision. This provision, which allows government to borrow short-term funds from the Apex Bank, was previously overused. However, reforms under Governor Yemi Cardoso led to the downsizing from 7.948 trillion naira to 3.268 trillion naira. This aligns with efforts to curb inflation, enhance fiscal discipline, and reduce reliance on central bank financing. The financial statement also showed large-scale recoveries across intervention loans, including 252.996 billion naira from schemes like the Anchor Borrowers Program and Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme. These repayments mark a clear policy pivot as the bank phases out development finance initiatives and tightens credit risk management, according to reports. Now, the Red Chamber, the Nigerian Senate Committee on Power, has raised an alarm over a growing liquidity crisis in Nigeria's power sector. According to the committee, the federal government now owes electricity generating companies about 200 billion naira monthly due to tariff shortfalls. Since January 2025, no payments have been made, pushing the debt to 800 billion naira. Senator Eyinaya Abaribe, chairman of the committee, made this known at a retreat in Ikot Ekpene, Akwa Ibom State, organized by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. He said the debt, combined with an earlier 3 trillion naira backlog, threatens gas supply to the power firms, exacerbating the nation's electricity situation. Despite the gloomy figures, Abaribe expressed hope that a clear funding decision by both the federal and state governments could salvage the sector. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, highlighted reform efforts but admitted that funding shortfalls, shortages, and equipment vandalism remain key obstacles. In foreign news, the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Yu Danhai, has stressed the need to stronger cooperation between China and Nigeria in harnessing Nigeria's solid minerals, especially through setting up electric vehicles factories. During a visit to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, in Abuja, the ambassador said such collaboration would support Nigeria's industrial growth and economic diversification. Ambassador Danhai recalled the recent agreement between President Tinubu and Xi Jinping to deepen bilateral ties. Highlighting China's plan to boost local manufacturing in Nigeria, he affirmed China's support for Nigeria's policy on local value addition, noting that Chinese firms already operate in mining from exploration to processing. Minister Alake welcomed the partnership, urging full-cycle investment by Chinese firms. He also raised concerns about illegal mining, referencing a recent video of a Chinese national involved in bribery. He called for cooperation to ensure compliance, stating that Nigeria is open to genuine investors committed to sustainable development. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News Television. I'm Oyin Priye Krumale. Coming up shortly is Just Africa. To stay with us.
Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State, on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Elisha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with a daily service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as executive governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, Souq Enlightenment.
Wole Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of arts. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masks and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory, setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny. Today, Soyinka is celebrated not only as a literary giant, but also as a symbol of resilience and moral courage.
Muhammad Yunus was born on the 28th of June 1940 in the village of Batwa, Chittagong, a British Indian colony which is currently known as Bangladesh. He attended Lama Bazar Primary and Secondary School in his village and passed the matriculation examination into Chittagong Collegiate School, where he ranked 16th out of 39,000 students. After his graduation in 1961, Yunus joined the Bureau of Economics as a research assistant and was later appointed lecturer of economics at the Chittagong College. During that time, he also set up a profitable packaging factory on the side. In 1965, he received a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, where he obtained his PhD in economics from the Vanderbilt University Graduate Program in Economic Development. Between 1969 and 1972, after his keen education excellence of apex heights and proportions in the United States, he returned home and was appointed professor of economics at the University of Chittagong. He was eventually appointed onto the board of directors to the United Nations Foundation, where he served for 33 years. When Bangladesh suffered a famine in 1974, Yunus felt he had to do something for the very poor. In his country, he founded the Grameen Bank. His motivation was to create economic and social development for the very poor, giving long-term loans to those who wanted to start small enterprises to pay back when they can. The aim to help was to get many of them out of poverty. For this, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. Muhammad Yunus is a recipient of numerous international awards for his ideas and endeavors, including the Humanitarian Award in 1993, World Food Prize in 1994, Independence Day Award in 1987, Bangladesh's highest award, the King Hussein Humanitarian Leadership Award in 2000. He was also awarded the Volvo Environment Prize in 2003, Nikkei Asia Prize for Regional Growth in 2004, Franklin D. Roosevelt Freedom Award in 2006, as well as the Souq Peace Prize in the same year. All humans are born entrepreneurs, he would always fondly say. His heart showed through his everyday life. Known as the father of African literature, Chinua Achebe was born on the 16th of November 1930 in Ogidi, now Anambra State, eastern Nigeria. He was born to Isaiah Okafor Achebe, a teacher and an evangelist, and Janet Anenichi Ilegunam, a vegetable farmer. Achebe has reshaped the global understanding of African identity through the power of storytelling. Raised during the twilight of colonial rule, Achebe's education was steeped in both Igbo tradition and the Western values of post-colonial Christianity. As a student at the University of Ibadan, he became fiercely critical of how Africa was portrayed in Western literature. Achebe believed that Western literature often painted Africa as a dark and primitive continent, but he sought to tell the African people's lens. In 1958, Achebe's groundbreaking novel Things Fall Apart shattered colonial narratives through the tragic story of Okonkwo, an Igbo warrior. Achebe illuminated the complexities of African culture and the devastating effects of European colonization. Things Fall Apart became more than just a novel. It became a symbol of African resistance against the oppressive narratives of colonialism. Achebe was not just a writer. He was a passionate advocate for African self-determination, and his political activism made him a critical voice in the post-colonial era. Even after a life marked by personal and political struggles, including a car accident that left him partially paralyzed, Achebe continued to inspire. He taught at Bard College and later Brown University, where his influence reached new generations of writers and thinkers. He was married to Christiana Chinwe Okoli, and they had 4 children. Sadly, he died in March 2013 at the age of 82. Chinua Achebe's legacy endures in his novels, his essays, and in the countless voices of African writers who follow in his footsteps. He gave us a voice, a story, and a vision of Africa that is ours to share.
When you visit Lagos for the first time and Google fun or recreational places in the city, at the top of that list will be Freedom Park. Located in Lagos Island on Broad Street, Freedom Park over the years has become home to the Nigerian arts and the culture at large. From annual big shows like the Lagos Theatre Festival, Celebration at the Lagos Poetry Festival, to local festivals that celebrate literature, music, and arts. Freedom Park is one of the most visited recreational sites in Lagos, for both local and tourist people alike. A place to mingle, unwind, or simply just have fun. Freedom Park, however, hasn't always been a place of fun and games. It has a history that dates to 1861, when Lagos was made a British colony. In 1885, Freedom Park was built as a fortified prison from imported bricks. It was referred to as Her Majesty's Broad Street Prison. Some prominent political prisoners were held in the prison, people such as Herbert Macaulay, Michael Imodu, and Obafemi Awolowo. In 1979, Her Majesty's Broad Street Prison was destroyed, reduced to a dumping ground. It was later rebuilt in the 1990s, celebrated in 2010, Nigeria's 50th Independence Day. Freedom Park still holds a bit of its history within its walls. In the museum, where there are pictures and artifacts. Some of the old prison facilities have been converted into leisure facilities that people visit and enjoy today.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an Armed Forces Remembrance Cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, Souq Enlightenment.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the Outer Marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street, Souq Enlightenment.
From urban land grabs to rural dispossession, the struggle for land is one of the most powerful and often invincible forces shaping inequality across Africa. Land represents more than physical territory. It embodies identity, heritage, and is vital to socio-economic life. Now, it underpins agriculture, settlement, and spirituality. Yet, land ownership remains a deeply complex and contested issue rooted in colonial history and intertwined with political and economic inequality. Nowhere is this more apparent than in Nigeria, where historical policies, current legal system, and systemic disparities continue to influence the controls of land, and consequently, who has access to opportunity and economic justice. Welcome to Just Africa, where we ask the vital question: who really owns land in Nigeria? And how does that affect the economic justice in the country? I am Olumide Shokoy, and I also have my co-anchor, Onyipriye Kumale.
Hello.
Happy New Week.
Happy New Week to you, Olumide.
How was your weekend?
Very great. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigerians. Yes, talking about land. When we talk about land administration in Nigeria, it has its roots from two entities. And one of it is from the customary law, and the other part of it, came from the colonial masters.
Yes.
And that, changed it and made it from the Native Land Ordinance Act from 1916, during those, before independence, and moving forward, it now translated or transformed in 1978, 1976, thereabout, to the Land Use Act,
yes,
which actually, gave some form of authority to the governments, to the state governors in Nigeria, to be able to exercise some form of regulatory authority and supervision and power over lands in their domain. So, and it's not the same in Africa. When we go to Kenya, it's almost replicated itself. But the Mau Mau rebellion in Kenya actually led to a alien displacement in Kenya, so that lands were now transferred from the colonial lords to the locals. Apartheid in South Africa itself also, had its own way of, settling issues when it comes to land, taking land from foreigners, from the whites, and, transferring them to blacks. And I could remember vividly one of the senators or one of the lawmakers, functionaries in South Africa, that was really talking about, when he was campaigning for election, that if he wins, he's going to take, all the mines and all the lands that are possessed by foreigners and transfer them back to locals, to indigenes, to South Africans. So in Namibia, they have their own story, and I believe as the show goes on, we'll be able to look at this part of the story. But that of Nigeria is very, very significant and very, very important.
One thing, just like you rightly mentioned, the pre-colonial era, I've often heard that Nigeria belonged to a certain people, Royal Nigeria. So when I did a little digging, it wasn't as if they owned Nigeria. What happened was the British government gave them rights to just acquire certain parts of Nigeria. That's the Royal Niger Company. It was founded by George Goldie, I think around 1886. And I think around late 1900, the British revoked that. And, it was now divided to the northern. We had the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate. Now, in the Northern Protectorate, it was freehold ownership, whereby families, clans, communities were given not necessarily ownership, but they were just allocated lands. Whereas in the South, we had both statutory and freehold.
Yes.
Yeah, customary and all that. But the Land Use Act revoked all that, and now we have just all rights are vested in each state governor right now, and they give you this particular. You don't actually own it.
The land that you bought,
yes,
you don't actually own it.
It's not
so
full.
There's a specific period of time that you're expected to own the land.
To own, I think about 99 years. I stand to be corrected about that. But looking at during the pre-colonial and now, do you think what difference do you think we were better off then when land? And I heard that time that you just pick a stone. If land not to be allocated, you pick a stone and you throw it, and as far as the stone drops, that is your land.
Well, those were not even native or crude ways. If we look at it from the customary perspective, they will be going back to the old days where our fathers and great-grandfathers, within their own locality, and as the culture of that tribe dictates how they get took possession of those lands, and how within the community, even their kings and the rulers among them, how they give lands to the people in society, as long as you are a native of those places. And they buy, because sometimes their great-grandfathers, had acquired those lands through some of the means of which history cannot really explain. But you grow up knowing that, oh, my father owned I owned large hectares of land, and most of them predominantly were farming. So in that specific case, they started giving out to their children. When their children get married and the family starts expanding, they start allocating lands to families. And that's how most people we have now, most people we have now, were able to acquire those land. But as it is now, real estate has, sucked into the whole system, and people can sell lands that they freely, were given to or inherited.
All right, so our guest is on standby. Today we will dive into land ownership and, of course, economic disparities. And we'll have our guest is on standby. He is a realtor and, of course, the CEO of Best Royalty Homes Limited. This is Engineer Prosper in Wizu. I hope I got that name correct.
Yes, you did. Good morning, gentlemen.
All right, so let's start off. Can you hear me? Can you please?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, so let's start with some context here. Now, many people might not realize that land issues in Nigeria and, of course, across much of Africa didn't just start today. Can you walk us through how the colonial history shaped the modern land ownership? Use Act.
Okay.
Yes.
So land per se, coming from the government policy, is literally not owned by individual per se. It's mainly by the government. These lands are actually given out. We have, just like the guest speaker, the other speaker was mentioning, you have this land apportioned to families, and it's usually given for 99 years. At the end of the day, you all know that these lands, at the end of the day, when you get them, you have to carry out some other forms of renewal of land certificates or certification, as the going says. In Lagos, citing Lagos as an example, we understand that Lagos real estate has become one of the most lucrative aspects of Nigeria, where you have lots of economical growth. And at this point, it's also being one of the focal areas where lots of people now are now buying into, in terms of going into real estate banking and the likes of it. In general, real estate has been in existence since the creation of the world. It's a particular thing that will definitely stay even unto the end of the world. It's something that cannot be taken out. It's a localized business in itself, because the law that governs a certain region is not the same law that governs another region. There are ways at which some laws definitely affect a particular region when it comes to acquisition of real estate. So it's all for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me take you back to a preamble I mentioned during the beginning of the program about these lands. Some of them are objects of inheritance from generations back to families. Let's assume the land, your father was a ruler or a chief in your village, and he has land, hectares of land. He gave to you, he gave to your brothers. These are you are rightful owners of the land. But as the Land Use Act that has given the government the entity who holds the land in trust of the people, Doesn't that give some form of authority to the government to, if they want to, or if they see reason to, by way of law, take it away from the rightful owners of this land? Or probably, do we have instances where this case, where government is holding land in trustee of the people, has been challenged in court?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I need to reiterate that lands in Nigeria have their own origin, right? We have, let's even cite Lagos for example. I want to delve into the situation that had to do with um, the Morocco evictees. I don't know if you're aware about the Morocco evictees. Um, that particular land have their original owners. The government stepped into it and also had to evacuate people out of that place. And they had to now send them to another land because they had a use for it, right? But the situation here is this: if it is not done, if it's not done legally, then it is seen as a breach of trust because these lands were originally owned by people. As you rightfully mentioned, government came in and also had to put up a form of trust in it so that it could be a form of regulation when it comes to land. Because we all understand that not until not until when people started seeing the relevance of land when it comes to the farming and other mineral resources that was now found under the earth. A lot of people didn't regard land as such a big deal. And as such, the government, citing using that same Morocco as an example, when they saw the need for exploring that particular access, they had to forcefully get people out of there. The actual, um, what do you call them, the locals there, they actually had to evict them there, promising that they are going to give them somewhere else, which they did. Credit to the government. But when they took them to the other location, what happened was that they didn't fulfill their promise as they said. Now we are not even hearing another rumor that they still want to take them out. It's not even a rumor. So we have already had situations where houses have been illegally demolished, even without the government authority. I think I would probably like to reserve this for when, as we'll proceed with this discussion. But for now, what we're actually trying to establish here is the fact that there is a legal way of getting land, and there is also a legal way of getting people out of the land by the government. If this land acquisition or land displacement does not take place legally, it is seen as a breach from the context of the government. Hence, the people have their sole right to file petitions against the government if they says that they are not lawfully evicted with the due process. I don't know if I got that your question right.
Okay, it's fine. Go on.
All right. I'd like us to now focus on the Land Use Act of the 1978, or the current one rather. Now, on paper, it was supposed to democratize access to land, but decades after, critics say it's part of a problem. But in practice, it's created a highly centralized system where political elites could allocate land, often with little transparency. This has allowed for corruption, elite land grabs, and of course the displacement of ordinary people. Can you tell us what went wrong and how can this anomaly how can it be corrected?
I didn't get that. Can you come again?
All right, now, critics are saying the Land Use Act is just there for the political elite to acquire land with little or no transparency, and this has allowed for corruption. This anomaly, how can it be corrected?
Okay. So for me, basically, this is not supposed to be a rocket science situation. This is something that is very clear to even down to the common man. We have early settlers of land. We know there are histories that back up a certain terrain, and that history of a particular terrain gives right to lawful owners of certain lands. Now, the government comes in partnership with such owners to ensure that lands are being um, either sold out for either um, economical value or sold out to other sets of individuals. Now, land grabbers, how do they come in this? How do they come in this scenario? The thing is this: because most times the people themselves are not well educated on this situation that has to do with acquiring land, and most of these people fall victims. Now, that is where you now need a professional real estate um, agent or realtor, as the case may be, to guide you, accompanied with lawyers who are also familiar with real estate laws, so that you don't fall victim in a situation like this. I have seen various instances where a lot of people, even down with legitimate documents, still fall victim. Now they can give more than one person a certain land, unknowing to them that the so-called what do you call them, either chief of that certain particular area has a connection with either one of the government officials who, at the end of the day, they just swindle a lot of people because they don't have any other backing to help them reclaim their land. So the only option that they have is either they try to go to the court to get justice, and which in most cases it's the chances of you getting justice in such situations are slim, or they actually try to give you somewhere else that is not even close to where you desire. So at this moment, we need to have credible, registered, well trained, and seasoned real estate agents, as well as lawyers who can help to curb this menace, because it is seriously becoming a widespread of what do you call this set of people, um, fraud. It's actually fraud. And we thank God for some other social media influencers who have taken up the initiative to bring awareness. The only way we can solve this is to bring awareness and put light to where darkness has already shadowed already. So this this particular topic is very, very critical and is essential, because a lot of people, a lot of some set of tribes have also been found themselves in a situation like this, and they feel like they have been attacked. Sometimes they usually say there is always an atom of truth in rumors. And if you want me to be honest with you, these things are actually true. They are there. But until we come and we put serious light onto this, it will still continue. Lagos, coming as using Lagos, citing Lagos as an example, we have seen a lot of cases. Take for instance, we know that there are some instances where some persons, they know that this land they are coming to get has some certain set of issues, but they feel they can always use their money to buy their way out. But it's not supposed to be so. There are areas that have been marked already that, okay, here is going to be used for a certain purpose. But because some people have their own personal interest, they influence it. I want to even use they have some estates here in Lagos, using on the island here. I don't want to mention some names. We know that this area, it's meant to be for a canal. Yet you go there, putting yourself, even the government officials, they know, and they will still go and accredit such a project, and they will now build there, sell it to innocent citizens who have worked hard for their money, and they fall victims. These are the things we are trying to sensitize right from the top. Because you cannot take, for instance, how can you sign a land that you know that that particular land is meant for, it's not meant to be, they're not meant to erect structures there. A canal, for crying out loud. But because of some greedy set of greedy fellows, they know that, oh, they can always get their way out of it, because most people are not aware. Some people who are even aware, because they cannot beat them, they rather join them. It's not supposed to be so. So we need to make sure that we sensitize that particular sector, because if we don't do something about it, the cost, just take out the cost of living, especially when it comes to rent, buying of houses, it's becoming very abnormal. I mean, Nigeria is barely 66.
If I may comment, that's where I was coming to. A lot of people have been complaining that Lagos is overpriced, that realtors and all that, they are always adding prices or increasing prices of land in Lagos. In fact, these days you hear land going for $1 million, $2 million, and you are wondering. So I'd like to hear your reaction.
Very much. Now, in all honesty, this is not just the realtors making. You have a land that, for instance, I want to use let me use Lagos Island as an example. Let me use Lekki Access. You buy a land for a certain amount, because your neighboring axis, for instance, Ikoyi is selling for maybe 1 million per square meter. You think that, okay, since we are close, we want to also increase our own amount. The question is, what is driving those prices? They say Lagos is compared to that of New York. Now, Lagos is the New York of Lagos is like New York. And I ask myself, don't you see there are factors there that influences such prices? We see there's a whole lot that needs to be done in the industry. Number one, the regulatory body in charge of this set of what do you call them, land pricing, land evaluation, needs to step up. This is becoming periodically abnormal. You cannot tell me that because, yes, you're in Ikoyi and it's they call it 1% of the 1%. The land there appreciates normally, and they call it appreciation value. On what are the basis of valuing the land there? They say these waterfronts. Check out the waters. Are they even clean? You big mosquitoes here in Lagos, and you are still talking about. I mean, I don't want to just go much into this, but if you want me to tell you things that are the main core of valuing properties, number one, you have to look at development. Look at basic amenities, non-flooding environments, good road networks, security. These are basic functions, basic parameters that determines the prices of land. Not just because of this place is because it's known as a colonial environment where the white state, you now use some level of what do you call them, ethnicism, or should I use the word low self-esteem, and and make the place go up. It doesn't add up. We are Nigerians. USA has been in existence, have had independence for over 200 years. We are just how many years now? And before you know, in the next 10 years now, even the common man won't be able to afford a good housing system.
Very much, Engineer Prosper. Thank you very much, Engineer Prosper, if you can hear me. Thank you so much. Now, I want to take you to another aspect where we will be able to, draw a nexus between the responsibilities of the state and of those who have lands in the state. In Nigeria, land is a symbol of wealth. If you have a land in places like Lagos, in Kano, in Port Harcourt, in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, in those specific places, and in specific places in these areas, then you have some form of wealth. And the same thing is we have in Ghana, in Rwanda, in Kenya, and all of that. But the thing is, land acquisition most of the time goes in the direction of undocumented processes. In Ghana, the government has established a digital system to streamline the ownership when it comes to proper documentation of land registry. In Rwanda, the government is doing the same through the Land Reform Act. Well, when you look at Nigeria, you bring your attention to Lagos State. In 2015, the Lagos State government made it its priority to document land ownership in the country, in the state rather, and to register land, to be able to have those who acquire, who have land and properties in the state. But nevertheless, we still have cases, some of the ones that you just referenced, where about 3 people go and purchase one specific land, and at the end of the day, they meet in court. And the boys and those who sold the lands to them are smiling to the bank. Is it because this information is not available to those who are nursing the ambition to own a land, either in places like Lagos or in Accra, Ghana, where they go through the right procedure to the Ministry of Lands and Property Development in the state, for them to have proper information on who owns what land and which one is available for sale, or they just fall into the hands of thieves?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, like I said, um, first of all, uh, it's unfortunate that we have a system that it's not like it's not functioning, but it is porous. Now, this is a job of a seasoned realtor alongside with a seasoned real estate lawyer, where you carry your job, you know, judiciously, and go and screen the whole detail of the land history. Because when you're buying the land, you need to understand the history of the land. You need to know who was the original owner. Is this still the original owner that is still owning the land? Was it sold out? This information normally should be captured. I'm using Lagos as an example. Now, there's a place in Lagos called the Alausa. That particular area, you have records. You have records of landowners where you can go and verify who is the legitimate owner, what is the history on the land. If you want to go and chart the actual size of the land, because what you can see, what you can have, you're seeing physically might not be the actual size when they capture it on the survey plan. So this